Tonight, we're bringing you a CNN exclusive. Brand new video you'll see right here for the very first time in just a few moments. It's really, I have to tell you, an incredible story. One that only CNN's Clarissa Ward can tell. Taking place during a rare ceasefire in Putin's brutal war. Giving 2 hours of cover for this dramatic scene. CNN crews shuttled by Ukrainian intelligence as Russia returned the body of an American killed in Ukraine while fighting for Ukraine. His name was Joshua Jones. He was 24 years old, a U.S. Army veteran from Tennessee. He was killed in August while fighting Putin's forces alongside the Ukrainian military. Now, this handover happened after months of negotiations in a dangerous area known as No Man's Land. It's in the Zaporizhia region between Ukrainian-controlled Ukraine and Russian-controlled Ukraine. And Jones's body will now head back here to the United States to his family, who have been longing for his remains to return to his final resting place, to home. Now, this rare moment of détente takes place during an incredibly tumultuous time in this war. Today, Russian President Vladimir Putin led military training drills, which the Kremlin says include practice missile launches. And then Putin said this earlier today.
Risk of conflict in the world as a whole, as well as at the regional level, remains very high.
Risk of conflict in the world as a whole remains very high, Putin said. The risk for a new world war, according to Putin. And Russian officials are continuing to push the totally unfounded claims that Ukraine is preparing to use a dirty bomb. A dirty bomb is a traditional explosive that can also contain radioactive material. Now, to be clear, we know of absolutely no evidence that Ukraine is developing or planning to use one of these weapons. And if the Russians did, they should turn it over to the United Nations. But Western and Ukrainian officials worry that this could be a false flag operation by the Kremlin, that Putin is just trying to distract from his own plans to use a nuclear device, though his ambassador to the UK denied that to CNN's Christiane Amanpour earlier today.
Russia is not going to use nukes, so it is out of the question.
But this is really important, what you've just told me, that Russia will not use nuclear weapons. Now, tomorrow, in a month, in a year, no matter what happens.
I cannot say about next
in your conventional
generation.
scenario,
Yeah.
are you saying that your country has
Yes,
pledged,
yes.
your defense minister,
Yes.
not to use nuclear weapons?
Yes, this is what I'm saying.
Reassurances from the Russians, who also told the world there was no way they were going to invade Ukraine until, of course, the moment they invaded Ukraine. Now, if you're wondering why Russia could be inching closer to the unthinkable using a nuclear device, well, think about this. Russian President Vladimir Putin's brutal war has not gone according to plan. Ukraine did not fall, let alone within a few days, and this has all surprised the world. Even some of Ukraine's allies were surprised by Ukraine's resolve, and now by Ukraine's counteroffensive that continues to take back the country. And Ukrainian forces are now set to make a big move to try to reclaim the strategically important city of Kherson. This was the first major city taken by the Russians, and now one of the only ones still under the Kremlin's control. An advisor to Ukrainian President Zelensky is warning the, quote, heaviest of battles are still to come, while Russian-installed authorities in that part of the country are stepping up pressure on residents to leave. This comes after Ukraine already reclaimed territory in the Kharkiv region. The Kremlin PR machine tried to spin the troop exit as a regrouping. In reality, that's called losing. You could also call it hell, as officials discovered that the Russian army left behind evidence of at least 22 suspected torture chambers and bodies of more than 500 civilians. And CNN has been there to document the brutality.
So this here is where the first strike hit. And then you can see the second one just smashed in to the top of that building.
CNN was there even moments before the bombs fell in Kherson.
It's not safe, he screamed.
We have to get out of here as fast as possible because the Russians might target this position.
And herein lies the paradox of Putin losing. Western leaders want Putin to fail, but the more he fails, the more desperate he becomes. That so far has led to an influx of brutal attacks against innocent Ukrainian civilians and increased attacks on critical infrastructure aimed at taking out power and water, things needed to live. One of the latest such attacks in the eastern Ukrainian city of Dnipro, where a gas station caught on fire after a Russian missile attack overnight. And local officials say 2 people were killed, the car wash operator and a pregnant woman who was trapped in her car and burned alive. In a different example of Putin's desperation, he's turning to another brutal regime for help. Today, Ukrainian President Zelensky claimed that Russia has used 400 Iranian drones to specifically attack Ukrainian civilians, escalating attacks on innocents who have been targeted by Putin and his army since this war began. All of that is what's fueling these fears that a nuclear option is not off the table. Considering Russia's despicable, inhumane actions against the Ukrainian people, it's hard to imagine any form of civility between the two sides. But this war has seen at least some brief moments of cooperation when it comes to prisoner exchanges. 2 American veterans fighting in Ukraine who were captured in June were released last month, part of a prisoner swap, partly brokered by Saudi Arabia. They were recently reunited with their families back here in the United States.
I mean, there were a lot of beatings. There was a lot of physical torture, but I think some of the worst stuff there was a lot of psychological torture.
I just remember it being prolonged suffering, prolonged pain. Me personally, I just remember wanting to die. Actually, I wanted it to end.
And the story of those 2 Americans who bravely tried to help the Ukrainian people brings us back to the story of Joshua Jones, the fallen American whose body is now in Ukrainian custody.